Let's see. Hey, Jenny.
Hello.
How are you?
Cheerio.
Oh,
I'm fine. One of my clients just sent me the funniest video ever, and it's this guy doing his morning jog, and it's recycling day, and he goes to everybody's recycle, and it's filled with liquor bottles. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
I know Adam said yesterday, okay, what are businesses that are going to boom during this? Not ones that are going to go backwards. And we were like, we thought for 30 seconds and both of us were like, alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny. Oh, shoot. I'm not going to be able to Facebook Live it. Sorry, Troy, if you're on. Hi. Okay. Katie, I sent you something really funny in the mail yesterday, so be on the lookout. It'll make you laugh. Okay, guys, we're gonna get started. I know other people are starting to jump on. So I've had a lot of talks with a lot of people who have said that sometimes during this their mindset has been like a little shaky on some days, and so I thought this would be kind of fun to do every morning, every Wednesday morning at 9 from 9 to 9:30. I'm just gonna get on and talk nothing about real estate. I'm just gonna share with you guys some good mindset stuff. Just to kind of get you back in a good headspace if you slipped out. And I will ask,
what are we doing? Because I don't have to do this. I can get ready.
if you did slip out for a moment, thanks, Blair. If you did slip out for a moment, don't worry, because it happens to everybody. And it made me feel better. Yesterday, it was funny. Linda and I recorded a podcast last night that's going to drop in 2 weeks, and we talked all around kind of your mindset and the new norm and just fears around it. And so we started, and Linda said, Dana, let's just be really raw and share how we're feeling right now. And I'm like, oh, are we really going to talk about that in the podcast? And so it made me feel better because Linda said that she had struggled a little bit this over the weekend, or I think it was on Friday or Saturday, I can't remember the day. And she said, I just had to get my mindset right. And she said, I slipped out of a good mindset for a minute. And she said, I got super anxious. And so I shared with her on Friday, and some of y'all know this, I went to bed at 7:45 p.m. and I just got, and I'm not like a super anxious person. I got really anxious on Friday, and I had to go sit outside, and Blair knows this about me, but sometimes if I get like super stressed or anxious, I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but I lose like my peripheral vision, my vision kind of gets blurred. And so on Friday, I'm like, what is happening? I could tell because like my eyes were closing in. And so I thought, okay, this is it. Like I just was anxious for a minute. I got in a bad mindset, and then I had to do things to get me back in. So one, it happens to everybody. Oh, hi, Mama Jane. Missing your face. And two, we just have to control it and do whatever we can to get out of it. So I want to move on and share a couple things with you guys. So the first thing about mindset is gratitude. So I really, really want everybody to do this. Wow, we have 50 people on. So go to the chat box, and I just want you to take a minute and right now, Frankie is not going to be one of mine because he's been misbehaving this morning. Type in the chat box 3 things that you're grateful for today. If you're on your phone, I know it's harder. But I really just want us to get in the mindset of what are we grateful for, and type 3 things you're grateful for today. And I'll just tell you guys mine. I have been so grateful for my health. I don't know about you guys, but I am just grateful that I'm healthy, because when you aren't healthy, it affects everything else. So I've been super grateful for my health. The second thing I've been super grateful for lately is close friends and peers that when you are having a anxious moment or a bad day, hopefully your bad day is happening on their good day, a good day for them. And so being able to talk to somebody else and get through that has been really something I'm grateful for. And then the third thing I've been grateful for is strong mentors. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago if I would have had mentors, I would have probably said no. I didn't even know really what that was. And I mean, I did, but I couldn't name you any off the top of my head. And now, just over the last probably 5 to 6 years, I'm so grateful for strong mentors that I've had in my life that have really been able to help me keep my mindset good, and to just help to lead me to focus on being a better business person. Teresa, good one, doctors. Yep, that's a big one. Super, super grateful for doctors. I love all these. Yay. See, doesn't this just put you in a good mindset, Teresa? what everybody else is grateful for. It does me. Positive relationships. I love that. Everybody said family. I think that's a one blessing through all of this. Is that we've all got to spend more time with our family, and I'm going to talk about that at the end too. Oh, Nancy, salted caramel mocha creamer is back in stock at the grocery. I love it. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know that's good for you. Oh, hey, Sarah. Sarah's on too. Yay. The calls and all the calls KW is having, man, I'm grateful for that too. Awesome. Okay, guys. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get out. Actually, no, wait. I want to show you this first. Some of you have seen this. And for those of you that haven't, I've been obsessing over this lately because the reality is that we are in a new norm, and whenever there's change, these are the categories that people fall into with change. Okay, so only 2.5% of people are actually innovators, meaning they have the earliest vision and they go and do it. And then early adopters, 13.5%. So they'll take that vision that an innovator did, and they're the first to adopt it. They're on it. They're not delaying. And then this is the crazy part. 34% are early majority, which means that they will adopt, but they kind of want to see a few key people that they know have done it first. Okay. And then they'll be into the early majority. Then you have the late majority, which is another 34%. So we have 68% of Americans are either in the early majority or the late majority. Late majority is they want everybody else to do it first, and then they're going to hop on. And then you have 16% are the laggards, right? So the laggards they hate change. They're never going to do it. They're not going to adopt, period. And so I think this is really important when we're talking about mindset, because I would just ask you to check yourself and see kind of where do you think that you fall, because we're going to have a lot of changes and a lot of things are going to continue to change. And so are you going to be somebody that's going to say, man, I've got the vision of this new, did you guys see that some kid that's literally like, I think Adam told me like 16 or something, created this software that tells how many coronavirus tests there are or something? I don't know. And he's been offered $8 million for it as of yesterday, and he hasn't sold it yet. Does anybody know that story? Adam just barely gave me the gist of it last night. But I thought, man, my first thing with Adam was, well, he's in the 2.5% of innovators, because he said, where can I go and come up with something big? So think about where you are in this. And then if you aren't somewhere that you want to be, how can you improve in that? Okay. And so here's where I want to get into the mindset, the beef of today. So this is where you're going to have to write this down. Okay. So I want everybody to draw a clock, draw a circle, draw a clock, and fill in the numbers. So start with 12 and go around to the right until you have your whole clock filled with circles. TJ, I'm right there with you. The ability to go outside for fresh air and exercise. I've been sitting outside on my calls that aren't Zooms. I've been sitting outside because, man, the sunshine will do wonders for you. Okay, so draw your clock. Once you've got your clock, okay, I wanna run around and tell you guys this story model, and I want you to think about this. So at 12 o'clock, I want you to write next to 12 o'clock the words "something happens." So here's the deal. Something happens, right? You have a situation that occurs. It could be something bad. It could be something good. It could be something that you hear on the news. It could be you hear someone is sick. Something happens, okay? And then when you move to 2 o'clock, I want you to write down "you react." So at 2 o'clock, you start to react. So that may be internally, you're reacting, you're thinking things, you're reacting by your actions, you're verbally reacting, you're emotionally reacting, whatever that is, you just begin to react. You begin to have emotions and reactions. At 4 o'clock, you begin to judge, okay? So write down "you judge" or "judgment." And what that means is you're starting to judge what happened based on good judgment or based on bad judgment. You're judging the situation. And sometimes some of you may be thinking, I'm not very judgmental, I don't judge. Well, the reality is that we all do, and we may not even realize that we do. And just because we aren't verbalizing it doesn't mean that in our head we aren't thinking it sometimes. So at 4 o'clock, you begin to judge, or you place judgment around what has happened, and maybe even your reaction, and maybe even the reaction of others. At 6 o'clock, you create a story. So I want you to write down, at 6 o'clock, you create a story. And here's the key. Your mindset controls whether you're creating a good story or a bad story. So follow me here. If something happens and you begin to react, and then you place judgment around it, and then you start to create a story. And have any of you ever been guilty of creating a story in your head that then you found out was actually not the reality? You totally reacted to something, you had judgment around it, and you created this story in your head. And then when you really talked to that person, or you found out what was happening, you realized that you totally just created the story in your head. So what we're going to talk about with your mindset here is the difference of reframing, because if you go to 8 p.m. or to 8 o'clock, and I want you to write down, you seek evidence based on your story. So at 8 o'clock, you start to seek the evidence based on your story. And a lot of times the stories that we tell ourselves are not positive stories, okay? They're the negative stories that creep in, the negative stories that the market is crashing. We're never going to sell another house again. Our business is going to go under. And then at 8 o'clock, we start to seek evidence. So we're like, well, this has happened before, and the market was down for 3 years and it never recovered. And the numbers are going to rival the Great Depression of unemployment. So we start to go out and we seek all of the evidence based on the story that we've created. So here's what I want you to think about. If you can reframe your mindset to only stay on the right side of the clock, because when you begin to go to the left side, meaning as soon as you cross over 6 o'clock and you start to go into the 8, when you start to seek evidence to
I hate when that happens.
to basically someone, so I do too, to when you start to seek evidence to create to what's the word I'm looking for, to solidify what the story is that you've created, totally shifted your mindset and your mind, and it's super hard to reframe your mindset. So if you can keep your mindset on the right side of the clock, you're easier to reframe, because you haven't gone out and you haven't gotten the evidence yet. You haven't started to build on your case. You haven't started to build on your story. Because here's the deal. When you go up, Blair, can you help me mute? I'm having a hard time saying who it is.
There you go.
Thank you. When you go to 10 o'clock, I want you to write this down. You create a new future. And that is based on your evidence. So if you seek the evidence and then you get to 10 where you create a new future, Frankie, come here, buddy. Sorry. Then your likelihood of being able to reframe your mindset at that point is near impossible, because you've already got the evidence and you've begun to create a new future. So you are you're harder to get back over to the right side. So what I want you to do is, if you can draw like a little infinity line kind of thing, from the 12 to the 6, loop in the 12 and loop in the 6. And I want you to think about, this is what happens over and over and over all day long, literally all day long. Hold on one second. Sorry, Adam's recording a podcast inside, so I'm trying to be outside. This is the new norm, the life of a quarantine new norm business owner. So anyway, this happens over and over all day long. We tell ourselves these things because something happens, right? Stories happen. And so any thoughts or questions or comments around that? Do you guys kind of understand the flow of that? If you can keep to the right side of the clock, it's so much easier to reframe your mindset. Thoughts, questions?
I have a thought.
Yes. Is that Teresa?
Yes,
Thank you. Yes.
it is very logical to want to go to the left-hand side of the clock. So you really have to be aware that you're going over there, and you have to correct yourself to come back.
Teresa, would you be willing to share things that you do to correct yourself if you start to feel yourself get there?
Yes. Okay, so especially at 6 p.m., you have to watch the alcohol intake. Once it gets to 6 p.m., you think, I think I'll just have a drink. So try to limit that. Exercise. Positive podcasts, calling a friend. I think what Dana said at the beginning about having a mentor, call somebody that you look up to. I find right now connecting with another person, though, is enough to get me back over. Seek someone else's opinion. Run the story by them. Tell them where you're going with this, and then see if they have the same perspective.
I love that. I think that that is a great thing to do. I want you guys to know, I'm sorry to interrupt right now, but the reason Frankie was barking is because the kids have set up a tent in the backyard, and somehow he just got in there and he couldn't get himself out. So that's what's happening with me this morning. Oh boy. Yes, Teresa, thanks for sharing. That's very true. And I think the more that we can realize that, the better. I do agree with the 6 p.m. thing as well. So be sure that you guys watch that. Okay, so some of you have seen this. I want to share this again. I would really, really encourage you guys to implement some sort of a daily habit scorecard. For those of you that haven't seen this, it's from Brendan Burchard. I love, love, love this. And if you could just spend like 5 minutes at the end of your day to go through and give yourself some sort of a score, you can take a picture of this, or I'm happy to send it to you guys if you want to email me. And so just walking through these and saying, okay, on a 1 to 5, 1 is low, 5 is the highest. The following statements are related to your habits. So kind of just rate yourself. Clarity based. I knew my why and lived intentionally today. Around your energy, I managed my mental and physical energy well. Necessity, I felt it was necessary to be my best and made success a must. Productivity, I worked on things that mattered most today. Influence, I guided or treated others well today. And then courage, and this is the hardest one for most people, I shared my real self thoughts and feelings today. And so when you kind of walk through those, and you're not going to be a 5 every day, and that's okay. The goal is just, it's not to be perfect. It's just to become better at being self-aware of every single day about the habits that matter the most and helping your long-term success. And so if you can think about your clarity, your energy, because I don't know about you guys, but my energy is fluctuating by the day and by the hour actually sometimes. And so it's good to just kind of get a feel for where are you at, because all of these things go into your mindset. I just saw that that Barb said, wouldn't it be easier to chat with someone before you got into judgment and created a story rather than after that? Yes, I totally agree with that, Barb. And if you can catch yourself there, then you can avoid getting all the way over. That's a great, great point. I love that.
Well, I'm just worried that by the time you've already gotten into judgment, I know you said to stop at 6, but to me, once you've gotten into judgment, it's really, really hard to figure out that you're wrong. You know what I mean?
Yep. I totally agree with that. Yeah. If you can get somebody, to get with you and get your mindset back before that happens, then yeah, you would prevent going there.
You're going to have a reaction. You can't help it. But if you could turn around to somebody you really trust and say, this is how I'm reacting to this. Am I reacting correctly? Tell me how I should be thinking about this, and just see what they say.
Yep, I love that.
Before you get into judgment, before you start to create a story. I don't know. Just what I'm thinking.
Yeah. We have lots of people in our houses right now that can help us.
Good point, Teresa. Yeah, I don't think very many of us don't. But yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So I heard something one time, and whether if you're spiritual or not, I still wanted to share this, but I heard something one time at an event in Atlanta called Catalyst that I went to. There's a pastor who writes a ton of books named Billy Hybels, and he's just an amazing author. I love to read his stuff. But he said one time, I've never received something powerful or serious from God going 230 miles per hour. And I thought that has stuck with me. I heard that in 2016, I think, and that has stuck with me ever since. Because the reality is, when you're, the real reality is all of us move at a really fast pace, wouldn't you say? I mean, most of us are on to the next. We can't even finish what we've started before we're on to something else. Our brains go 1,000 miles an hour. And the reality is it's really hard to get clarity. It's really hard to receive something powerful or serious when you're going that fast. And I don't know about you guys, but when we come out on the other side of this,
the one thing that I know will be true is that this has forced me to slow down. And even though I'm busier than ever, and even though I'm on Zoom-a-paloozas 12 hours a day, this has forced me to really see how I look at things. And actually, I had a really funny thought last night in the shower. I was thinking, just not driving. Like, I haven't put gas in my car in 2 weeks. And the time that I haven't had in the car has enabled me to do so many more things. It's crazy. And so it's like forced me to slow down. And one thing I'm loving to do right now is send handwritten notes. And so, and we're going to talk about that in a minute too, but just think about that and let that soak in. Because when we're going 230 miles per hour, it's really hard to receive something powerful. It's really hard to be intentional with ourselves and with our lives. Has anybody read this book? Okay. Gary Keller recommended this right when we kind of got into this. This is an oldie book. And it's paperback. It's super cheap on Amazon. I can't remember how much it was, but it's cheap. And so Adam and I have been reading this, and it's awesome. And it's he starts by telling a story. It's a really, really easy read. I would recommend that everybody get this and read this right now. But I actually love the beginning. The whole book, it's not like a super, well, I haven't finished it yet, but what I've had so far, it's not a super spiritual book, but the author was a pastor, and also a business owner. But in the beginning, he starts by saying, Lord, give me the guidance to know when to hold on and when to let go, and the grace to make the right decision with dignity. And I've been like reading that over and over, because we're going to have to let go of a lot of things that we've had before with our new norm. We're going to have to be forced to make some different decisions than we have before. And so I think we've got to do our best due diligence to know how we can be tough through this and keep our mindsets in the right place. And so this book has really, really been helping me. I'm about halfway through it right now. And like I said, it's just a quick, I read 2 or 3 books at a time. I'm just weird like that. Or I probably could have already had it finished, but I would highly recommend this. And I would love for those of you that start to read it, maybe we can share some ahas and talk through it, because it's upbeat. It's very inspiring. It's motivating. And it's what we need right now. Gary said that this, along with Who Moved My Cheese, are like the 2, other than Shift, of course, for business owners and real estate agents, but these are the 2 that we need to be reading because our cheese has moved. Okay, what I really would love for you guys to do, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of homework, and it'll be just quick, easy homework things. And then my intention and hope is that you come back every single Wednesday morning and we can start to share together and make this a really good collaborative group. But between now and next Wednesday, I want all of you guys to go find and listen to this podcast. It's 35 minutes long. It'll be well worth your time. It's back from July 2019. John Maxwell doesn't list his like in numbers that I could find. But if you just Google John Maxwell podcast with Tyler Perry, you will find it. It's a story of success with Tyler Perry. And I kind of fell in love with Tyler Perry when I heard him speak live in Atlanta several years ago. And since then, I've just followed his story. He has the most amazing story for those of you that have never, some of you, let's see, Jenny, were you all there when Tyler spoke? Yeah. Okay. So he just is, I think, an incredible human being, number one. And number two, man, talk about a business person. He's a person of faith. He has had to overcome so much stuff. So I would really, really love if you guys would go listen to this podcast sometime between now and next Wednesday. And then next Wednesday morning, I want us to talk about and share some of the ahas from this. Oh, thanks, Blair. Thank you. Yeah, so that Blair put the link in the chat. If you guys want to just click that, it'll take you to it. And just his story, man, it's just really good. Okay, I don't want to give it away. I just want everybody to go listen to it, and then I want us to talk about it next week. Let me read Ashley. Yes. Can I read that out loud? I guess since you put it in the chat, yes. Ashley said she had a complete breakdown yesterday and honestly just had to go to bed and sleep it off. That was me on Friday. Literally was done at 7:45. Woke up with a clear mind this morning, ready to go. I definitely got to 10 yesterday before I decided to do something about it. Don't get to a 10. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Ashley. And honestly, guys, sleep really is a wonderful thing to reset. I mean, if you guys are feeling like you're getting in a weird spot, I'm usually not like a great I sleep good, but I like to work late at night. And so Adam's been forcing me not to do that. And it's actually helped. And so I think that's very helpful. Yes, Talisha, I'm with you. I love Tyler Perry too. So, okay, everyone listen to this podcast between now and then. Blair posted the link, and then let's come back and share ahas. So here's your homework or action items. Listen to the podcast between now and next week. And then if you are not a handwritten note card person, I would say this week, just send 5. I would love for everybody to send 5 handwritten note cards in the mail to somebody that you know or somebody that you care about. I mean, it might even be a family member. And honestly, if you have kids, maybe encourage your kids to do the same thing too, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm checking my mail more than normal. And actually, I'm kind of sad I'm here in Charleston because I've had people say, I sent you something. I'm like, oh, dang it. I'm not at home to get my mailbox. But send 5 handwritten cards to people in your world in the mail this week, and then work on your story model thoughts. So just like, I love how Barb shared, maybe you need to call and maybe you need to, what was that show? Phone a friend. Maybe you need to phone a friend before you actually get to the point where you've created the story and where you've placed judgment, and just work on when those things happen, staying on the right side of the clock so that you can begin to reframe your mind a little bit easier. And then I just want to leave you guys with this. And I love, you all know I'm a huge John Maxwell fan. How we view things is how we do things. And so I want you to just think about that and maybe even write it down and let it sink in. How we view things is how we do things. And if we are viewing things with a negative mindset, if we're viewing things with a, like, the sky is falling, doomsday, like we're all gonna just nobody's ever gonna have money again. If that's how we're viewing things, then that's how we're gonna do things. And I'm not saying it's not okay or normal to creep into fear every now and then, but you've got to be able to not let your guard down. And you've got to be able to stay on it. And actually, I don't have this in here, but I will share one more thing with you. Craig Groeschel's Life Church on Sunday was incredible. He said, what you feel is panic, but what you want is peace. And the only way to do that when anxiety attacks is to not drop your guard. And so I just told Adam yesterday, I'm going to order, I'm kind of OCD about like decor and how things look. However, I'm going to find a cool pair of like leather boxing gloves, and I'm going to hang them in our offices at home, because Craig Groeschel gave the visual of the boxing gloves, and like how when you're boxing, you have your boxing gloves up, right? They're covered your face. The second that you let your guard down is when somebody comes in and knocks you out, right? And so he related that to thinking about when we're anxious, we're actually dropping our guard, and we're giving a moment for the devil to creep in. And he said something, he said, the devil's target is your mind and his weapons are his lies. And so, and I don't know about you guys, but in my mind, when I start to tell a story of things that are lies, and then my view changes, then how I take action can sometimes change too. And so I think if we can make ourselves just remember, like, not to let your guard down, to keep your boxing gloves up, not to let your guard down, so that we don't even like give the devil a chance to come in and enter those lies into our mind. And then just think about how you view things is actually how you do things. So that's why keeping our mindset is going to be super important over the next couple of weeks, because the reality is it could get a little bit worse before it gets better. But the good news is that if we have our mindset up and we're doing the right activities, we know that we're going to get through it. This is going to be nothing that we're not going to get through. It's just going to be a different way of getting through things. So I appreciate all you guys being on. It's 9:30. I want to be sensitive to time. Will you guys come back on Wednesday mornings, and should we keep doing this? I think so. Yes. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. Invite a friend. Thanks for being on. Okay, go listen to your podcast, write your handwritten notes, think about the story model, and if you guys need anything, I'm here. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, see y'all.